What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here for another video for you guys. And seeing it as it is international break this week, we thought we'd bring you something a bit different for you guys today, as there has been a lot of good players, a lot of bad players that have come through the doors over the years at Tottenham Hotspur. So today we are bringing you an uncapped Spurs 11. So we're going to be going through some Spurs players that haven't been capped for their countries, and there are some good players in there. There are some bad players in there.
Yeah, we did the best we could. What we had. It is what it is. But this 11, could it stay up in the Premier League? I guess you have to see for yourself by the 11.
Yeah, they can be the judge.
I think there's some interesting players in there who haven't been capped for their country in the past, and I think we had some fun putting this together. So let's get through it. Spurs uncapped 11. And of course, if you think at the end of this video we missed anyone out, put in the comments below and we'll have to see.
All right, so we are going for a 4-4-2 formation. And in goal, we are going to start with Carlo Cudicini. He's probably one of the best keepers ever to not be capped.
Yeah, and especially, obviously, Italy have been blessed with unbelievable keepers over the years. Buffon has been the mainstay for them for so long. I remember there was even one point when Cudicini was, there was rumours he would switch allegiances to England.
Yeah, I remember that.
And because we were struggling for keepers at the time, and he was not capped for Italy, and he was playing really well. He did. I remember one season for Chelsea, I think he got keeper of the season and the whole Premier League season as well. He was unbelievable. And for Spurs, he was brought in kind of because Gomez at the time was screwing up so much. I was like, let's just get someone who maybe is not as good.
Just a nice, safe pair of hands, you know.
And I think he did okay at Spurs. He was actually in goal for that famous night when we beat Inter Milan at the Champions League. So he's got that in the history books. And I think he had a decent career overall. He had a very good career in football, and at Spurs he was okay. But I think it's very surprising that for his whole career, the quality of keeper he was, he never ever got capped. It's very surprising.
Yeah, I mean, the one problem he had was Gianluigi Buffon, you know what I mean? So it's surprising and also not surprising in a way, you know what I mean? So in goal, we are going for Carlo Cudicini. Right back, we're going for Kyle Norton. That's the best we could get.
Yeah, I mean, we were blessed with players like Phil Eiffel. Could have gone for him, but we went with Kyle Norton. It's not surprising. He didn't get a call up, although he did come to Spurs as supposedly the better Kyle, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
He was supposed to be the better one.
That's true.
Right back, because we signed Kyle Norton and Kyle Walker together, and Kyle Norton was supposed to be the better one. Didn't really turn out that way.
But, Kyle Walker is definitely up there in probably the top 3 or 4 right backs in English right backs in Premier League history.
Completely agree with that. I think the high point of Kyle Norton's Spurs career, and probably his career in general, was after Spurs spending 100 million. He was taking our corners back in 2013. I couldn't believe that. We couldn't find anyone better than Kyle Norton to take our corners after spending the 100 million in the bail money.
He was so average, man.
Yeah, he was pretty average. He was really average, and I think did we sell him to Swansea, or did he go somewhere? I think we sold him to Swansea.
I think so.
And I think he's been okay there. I think he's
he's found his level.
I know. Did he play for Norwich? Well, we signed him from Norwich. I can't remember. No, we signed him from Sheffield United, and then
we signed him from Sheffield, and we sold him to Swansea.
We sold him to Swansea. I have a memory of him playing for Norwich. I don't know why I have that. I might be completely wrong, but maybe he was on loan there or something. But I think he was. He was really average. I think he was.
We loaned him out to Norwich.
Oh, we loaned him out
to Middlesbrough, Leicester, and Norwich, and then sold him to Swansea.
Right. Okay.
And he's still at Swansea now.
Yeah, I think he was used quite a bit under AVB, I remember, because he could play left back, right back, but he never really could hold down a place at Tottenham, and I think we was rightfully sold at the end of the day. Average right back. We weren't blessed with uncapped right backs, I would say.
So that's right back Kyle Norton. Now the left back, we are going for Maurizio Taricco.
Yeah, who was at Tottenham for a long time.
I mean, what really stands out for Taricco, first of all, he used to get sent off quite a lot. He used to get sent off a lot. And that goal against Leeds, I think opening day of the season, in 2003 or 2004, around then. What a goal that was. Yeah. What a goal.
Yeah, he wasn't famed for his goal scoring, although he was a right-footed left back, wasn't he? Before his time, you would say. Because now you see a lot more of that. But he was extremely aggressive. He used to get sent off for fun throughout the season. I think he must have been one of our most sent off players in the history of Spurs. And he scored that great goal against Leeds. I remember he scored a goal against Liverpool as well a few months before that, which was went under the radar. Was a bad mistake by Dudek, but he was a mainstay for Tottenham for a while. He was at Spurs for quite a long time, and he was a good servant to the club, but wasn't good enough at international level. Ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, he was Argentinian, so big nation there. So
and they had Sorin a lot of the time at left back, probably nowhere near that level. And then we gave him to West Ham, and they enjoyed him for a bit.
Yeah,
classic West Ham.
All right, so the fullbacks are Carl Norton and Maurizio Taricco. Centre backs. The first centre back we're going to go for, the late Dean Richards. May he rest in peace. He signed for Spurs for a record fee at the time, 8 million. And
I think it was a record for an uncapped player. I think
Is that the thing?
I think so.
And he scored in his debut, didn't he, in a 5-3 loss against Manchester United, that famous loss against Man United. But I think Dean Richards was actually a really good player.
Well, yeah, I mean, we signed him for big money for a reason. He was, I know he was
Southampton, right?
Yeah, from Southampton. He was really, really good then, and they convinced us to part with a cool 8.1 million at the time, which was a big transfer fee. And I think during his time at Tottenham, I don't think he was bad. I think he was decent, but I think obviously he retired fairly early, didn't he?
Yeah.
In his career.
It was a very sad story,
and that led obviously ultimately to his passing later down the line. But I think when at the height of his Spurs career, he was a pretty good defender, and it was a shame he couldn't really keep it up. And obviously, his physical capacity was diminishing, and that's probably contributed to him obviously retiring early and everything like that, which is a massive shame. But I think in his time, really good defender, and a shame he never got a cap for England.
Yeah, I really liked him as a player. And the second centre back to partner Dean Richards, we are going for Noe Pamaro. I mean, he wasn't famed for playing centre back for us. He played most of his games at right back, but he was a kind of centre back and a right back all mixed into one. So we are going for Noe Pamaro.
Part of that famous contingent who moved to Portsmouth in that time, one of those four. He was decent in his time at right back. Most of the time at right back, and I remember he scored a goal against Everton.
Decent is a stretch.
Huh?
Decent's a stretch.
Yeah, I think it's all right. I remember he scored the winner one time against Everton in a 1-0 win at Goodison Park. That was a nice goal. But yeah, it didn't really pull up any trees, did he? I suppose. I think the times where. That one time I knew he wasn't going to make is when we in that 5-4. I think he was at fault for like 2 or 3 of those goals. I was like, oh god, he's never going to make.
He wasn't the greatest player, was he? Good old Noe Pamaro.
And no shocker that he didn't get called up for France, but it is what it is. And so we put Noe Pamaro in there.
All right, so that is a back five: Cudicini, Norton right back, Taricco left back, and Pamaro and Richards in the middle. I mean, how are you ranking that defence in the Premier League history?
I don't know if it would stay up, but maybe it'll give it a good fight. Go down fighting, I would say.
All right, left midfield, we are going for Matty Etherington.
Matty Etherington, yeah, I think in his day was a decent left winger. Maybe not so much for Spurs, but for other clubs he was decent.
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of problems through his career. He had a lot of gambling issues and stuff like that. Went off to West Ham after another one of West Ham signing off flops.
How many of these players went off to West Ham after, literally?
Matt Etherington, he came as a double signing with Simon Davies from Peterborough. And Matt Etherington was also supposed to be the better one, and Simon Davies turned out to be the better one as well. So, I mean, we've had a few issues like that, with the Carl Norton, Carl Walker, these two coming over from Peterborough. And I remember when we signed them under Glenn Hoddle, and it was a really exciting double transfer at the time. 2 really young, exciting prospects coming through. And I think that Simon Davies was one of my favourite players, and Matt Etherington I don't think ever really lived up to any sort of potential.
Yeah, he only got 1 goal in his whole Spurs career, and that was on the opening day of the season.
Struggled a lot with injuries.
I remember I was also against Everton, really nice goal, that was right into the roof of the net. But yeah, didn't really pull up any trees at Spurs, unfortunately, and he made 45 appearances for us over 4 years, so really not that many.
I think he was blighted with injuries at his time at Spurs.
Yeah. So that was a shame for him. But once he moved to West Ham and to Stoke, he was a mainstay in their teams, regularly making over 30 appearances a season for both teams. So maybe it was just a thing at Spurs. It was a big blip. But I don't think he was ever really the quality that we needed. But I think a couple of times he scored against us. For Stoke, I remember a couple of times. Yeah. So I remember one time he got a double. He scored a brace against us.
He definitely scored more against us than he did for us.
Yeah, he did. So that was one of those that came back to bite us a bit. But I think we were right to let him go when we did.
Yeah.
We used him as a make-weight, didn't we, in the deal for Defoe?
Was it Defoe?
Yeah, we got Defoe in exchange for him, I'm pretty sure. Or no, was that Zamora?
I think it was actually Zamora. I think it could have been Zamora.
I think it was Zamora. Didn't we? We did sell him though. We sold him for West Ham for a player for Canute. That was it. Canute.
Oh, was it Freddie?
For Canute. Canute got an exchange.
One that we let go way too early, Freddie Canute. All right, so Matt Everington on the left. On the right-hand side of the attack, we are going for Stefan Dalmat, who came to Spurs on loan for one season. And I thought he brought that kind of breath of fresh air when he came to Spurs. Some creativity we were really lacking at the time. And I remember he could grab the ball from anywhere and really just run at the fences and really beat a man easily. Scored a few nice goals for us. But his career was blighted for that big fight he had with Jamie O'Hara, wasn't it?
Big fight in a training ground, Jamie O'Hara. I'd like to ask O'Hara about that one day, what actually happened. But that marred his career at Spurs. Yeah, I remember he did put in some sensational displays. I remember against Wolves, he scored a cracking goal when we beat them 5-2. And against Birmingham, I remember, we beat them 4-1 and he was quality on that day as well. So Dalmat had the skills, he had all the ability, but apparently it was his attitude that really let him down. I think it blighted most of his career. And he never really settled at any club really. I can see even in his career, only at Sochaux, he stayed more than one season.
Wow,
pretty much throughout his career. So he didn't really get settled anywhere.
He had a lot of talent.
And you can see the clubs he was been at: PSG, Inter Milan. Really big clubs he was at. So clearly he had the talent, but he nearly didn't have the attitude. Maybe like a bit of a Ravel Morrison kind of thing. Didn't have the attitude to really sustain it, and that's what let him down throughout his career. Unfortunately for Dalmat, but a real talented player when he was at Spurs for sure.
And in the centre mid alongside him, funnily enough, we're going for Jamie O'Hara.
He's a winger.
Huh?
We're going Dalmat on the right.
Yeah, Dalmat on the right, Everington on the left.
You said centre mid along. Oh, you mean just alongside?
Yeah, just next to him.
Oh, right, sorry, Finn. Okay. Yeah. So I thought you meant alongside him in centre mid.
No, I was just making the point that we're putting these two players alongside each other
in the
same
play together?
Starting 11, and O'Hara was a big reason why Dalmat didn't work out at Spurs.
It was.
And it's funny how we're putting them both in the same starting
both
11.
Both uncapped, they can both share that.
But Jamie O'Hara, a player that came through the ranks at Tottenham, still a massive Tottenham fan now. On TalkSport, you hear him talking. But O'Hara, when he was coming through, a lot of people at Spurs were really excited about him.
Yeah, and he had that moment where he didn't play the cup final because he was in the squad and actually scored a few days before the cup final in the Europa League, and then he didn't make the squad a few days later for the cup final, and apparently he was really heartbroken. But he was a decent player coming through the ranks at Spurs, and it was a shame it didn't quite work out for him. I don't think he was ever really good enough to be a top player. I think he was a right squad player. I remember he scored a quality goal once against West Ham in a 2-0 win, and I remember he played the next cup final. He started it in the 0-0 draw against United. And I think he did all right when he went off to loan spells to Portsmouth and Wolves. He did okay, but was never quite up to it. Spurs, unfortunately, I don't think.
I remember being at a pre-season friendly away at Leyton Orient when Jamie O'Hara was first breaking into the side. I think it was his breakthrough season, and he was starting that game at Leyton Orient. And I was sitting next to his dad, Jamie O'Hara's dad, and I was chatting to him throughout the game. And when the teams come out and Jamie O'Hara's coming out, his dad had a tear in his eye. He came from a proper Tottenham supporting family, and it was a massive thing.
Didn't he used to play for Arsenal, right? Am I saying that?
I'm not sure about that.
In his early career, didn't he come from Arsenal?
I'm not sure about that.
I don't know. I might be wrong. Yeah. O'Hara trained with the Arsenal Academy. There you go.
Right.
I thought so.
A bit of a Harry Kane thing going on there.
Yeah, a bit of a Harry Kane. And I remember during those early days when, those 2 points from 8 games under Juan de Ramos, he was the only one trying to show fight during those times. He was playing every game. And he
always showed passion for the shirt, didn't he?
Yeah. And he had a few nice moments, but never really was there to really because once we brought people in like Modric and stuff, he just got nowhere near that quality. Yeah. So he was never going to sustain that. And then I was not surprised that he got sold in the end. And did he miss? I think he missed a penalty, didn't he, in that shootout?
Yeah, he did. And Ben against
Foster
Man United.
He watched him on YouTube.
Ben Foster with his bloody iPad just for the penalties.
Although O'Hara's never taken a penalty for Spurs in his career, he claimed he's seen footage or something. But yeah, he did miss a penalty in that shootout. But he was a decent player at his time, but I don't think he was ever England quality.
And then the last of the midfield, we are going for Steed Malbronk.
What a player.
Steed Malbronk was one of the most criminally underrated players to come through Tottenham. And he was one of my favourite players when he was at us.
Another one I think we let go too early.
Yeah, potentially you could say that, because he always gave his all for the shirt, and he actually had a bit of quality about him as well. I remember that when we beat Arsenal 5-1, it was his goal that capped off the whole night, wasn't it? And I think he was seriously, like I said, a criminally underrated player for Tottenham.
Yeah, I really liked Steve Malbronk. I thought he was quality. I thought it was absolute quality. We did mostly play him on the left, and I thought his best position was in the centre. And when he moved to Sunderland a year later, he was played more centrally, and I think he was a lot better there. And for Fulham, he was a lot better centrally. We did play him mostly on the left, though, and I think we maybe underused him there. And I think we let him go too easily to Sunderland. I think we could have hung on to him. I think he definitely was a good player and one of the best uncapped players we've had. I think he's really, really underrated. And I think he had a lot of quality about him. I think he was only at Spurs for 2 years, unfortunately, and I think we could have kept him on for longer. I really do. I think he was a quality player.
How old was he when we got rid of him?
How old was he? So he's 41. He's in late 20s, like 28, 29.
So definitely, we got rid of him too early.
I think it was quite good for Sunderland. I remember one game he completely bossed us off the park for Sunderland, and I remember that day thinking like, wow, we could have definitely used him.
Who sold him? Was it Martin Yole?
It was no, it was Ramos.
Oh, Ramos sold him.
Yeah. And I think that was a shame because he was a quality player, and especially for Fulham, he was really great, and that's why we signed him. And I think he was underused at Tottenham, or underappreciated, should I say. In his last season for Spurs, he played pretty much every game in the Premier League.
Did he play the cup final in 2008?
In 2008, I don't know if he played the cup. Must have.
Because he played the semi-final.
No. Oh, you mean against Chelsea? Yeah,
he did, didn't he?
Yeah, he did play the cup final against Chelsea. Yeah. Sure, he was a good player, and I think he should have got capped, at least one cap for France. I think he.
Well, you got to think about at that time. France have always had just a conveyor belt of players just coming through, haven't they?
And even at Lyon, after he left Sunderland, went to Lyon, I thought he was really great. He was really like one of those players who was quite good even at his old age. He had a really good football brain. Steve Malbronk, very underrated.
Completely agree. And now let's move over to the strikers. And the first striker we're going to be talking about is Carlos Vinicius, obviously on loan at Spurs this season. Do you think we're going to take him up for another year, or do you think we're going to sign him up?
I think if we can get a cheap deal, which works for us, I think it might be worth it, because I think it has been a difficult year for him. But I think he has proved that when you give him supply, he can be a pretty good poacher, a pretty good finisher. And I think he will get better with more time. You know, it's learning the language, learning the league.
First year in the Premier League is always going to be difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, and also playing second fiddle to Harry Kane a lot, not getting many minutes. I think it might be worth, if we can get a cheap deal, keeping him on and seeing how it goes. Because he's also proved in other leagues, like in Portugal, that he can be lethal when he's on form, and top goal scorer in the whole Portuguese league when he was there. So that proves something. So I think it might be worth coming on. I think it's hard to find strikers in this sense, because any striker really who goes on a good run of form kind of gets called up for their country immediately.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to get one who's uncapped, who's any good. But I think Vinicius might be looking to get capped in the future. It's probably very, very difficult for him. But I think he's a good striker, and I think might be worth looking at in the future.
Now you've seen him for like the most part of this season. Is it a surprise for you he hasn't been called up for Brazil?
No, I don't think it's a surprise. I think they've probably got a lot better options than him at the moment. But I think if he gets more game time, I wouldn't be surprised if in the future he does get called up if he proves his worth at Spurs, because I think they'll be looking at how he progresses for sure. I think he's good physically. I think he's good. I think he's a good poacher. He's got good timing of his runs and stuff like that. Just needs to work on his overall quality in terms of hold-up play, first touch and things like that. And I think he could be a really good striker, but just needs to learn a bit more and a bit more time.
All right, and the last of the starting 11, the striker partner for Carlos Vinicius is the great Chris Armstrong. And Chris Armstrong famously signed from by Jerry Francis. And you know who we signed Chris Armstrong instead of?
Who was at Arsenal?
Dennis Bergkamp.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant who's... yeah. Really? We signed instead of Dennis Bergkamp?
Jerry Francis says, nah, forget this Dennis Bergkamp fella. Let's go for Chris Armstrong.
Oh. What were we thinking?
But look, Chris Armstrong, I think he was kind of a bit underrated at Spurs. I think he was actually a good striker. Obviously, he did get called up to England, but never got his cap. And I think with Chris Armstrong, if you look at him now, he's like turned into a Rasta. He's like got dreadlocks, and he's always smoking weed apparently. So yeah, so Chris Armstrong, fall from grace over there. But I actually think he was a bit underrated at Tottenham, Chris Armstrong. But when you're comparing him to Dennis Bergkamp, there's obviously just no comparison.
Pretty good goal scoring record.
Yeah, he was.
62 goals in 173 games. Okay, it's not like unbelievable, but it's not terrible. He once got 22 goals in a season, which is pretty good for an uncapped striker. In his penultimate season at Spurs, he got 14 goals in 38 games. That's pretty good. So I'm saying
he was underrated. He's remembered as like not such a successful striker for Spurs, because obviously when he was at Spurs, we were just an awful team. But I think he scored quite a few goals for us.
His overall record in the Premier League is 141 games, 48 goals. That's like better than 1 in 3. So that's like probably like better than someone like Defoe. Yeah, in a weird way. True. So that's like pretty decent for Chris Armstrong. And I definitely, obviously, I did a bit before my time. I don't remember watching him too many times, but I think I've seen a few clips and stuff, and he definitely had a lot of ability, Chris Armstrong. And maybe it was one of those where he had to hone that ability to really harness to get the most out of it. And it's a shame that he never really got called up for England or didn't stay at Tottenham beyond when he did, but. Clearly, he had a very good goal scoring record, and he was decent striker. So fair play to him.
All right, so that is our uncapped Tottenham 11. Let me just run through it one more time. So that's Carlo Cudicini in goal, Maurizio Taricco at left back, Carl Norton at right back, with a centre back duo of Noé Pamaro and Dean Richards, a midfield 4 of Dalmat, Etherington, Jamie O'Hara and Steed Malbronk, and a top 2 of Carlos Vinicius and Chris Armstrong.
A ragtag bunch, you could say.
Where do you think that team is coming in the Premier League?
I reckon they can stay up on the final day.
Do you reckon? I'm not so sure about that.
You've got a few goals in Armstrong and Vinicius. You've got creativity there with Malbronk. You've got some pace on the wings. Defensively, you could say it's better than our defence now.
I'm not so sure about that. I think Eric Dyer easily gets into this side.
Eric Dyer gets into that side? Yeah, maybe.
And so does Harry Winks, to be fair.
Harry Winks gets that side. Oh, he's got quality Winks. But yeah, look, it's not the best side, but I think it was just fun to go through our uncapped 11. And look, if you think we've missed anyone out, if you think there's any other uncapped players we've missed, let us know in the comments below who you think should be in this uncapped 11. If you can catch us out on any better players who have been uncapped, let us know. We'd look forward to your answers.
Yeah, so yeah, comment in the comment section below if you feel we have missed out on anyone. I really enjoyed putting this video together. Thanks for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.